Welcome to self-discoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Your Health is Your Choice. I am your host, Sarah Troy. You are listening to selfdiscoverywisdom.com, and my guest all the way from across the pond is Karin Sauren. I'm hoping I've done that right. She is Dutch, so different pronunciation. But we're going to be talking today about Down syndrome, how we do not understand what it is, how we do not understand how to approach it, why are they so different, what can we do for them to support them on their journey of life. She says when her son Wesley was born with Down syndrome, they were quickly informed about all the possible health challenges that he could face. In her journey, she has been searching for natural ways to optimize his health and wellness and not take the health issues for granted by being part of Down syndrome. She would like to share what they've discovered so far in their journey and on this topic to help parents on their journey. Now, I've said before that I have a grandson with Down syndrome, and anything that can help us understand what we can do for him is absolutely, everything, every bit of knowledge can help. And this is what we're going to be talking about today, her journey into all the things that she went down to discover the nutrition, the gift of down, the primordial diet, and all sorts of stuff. There's a psychoneuro integrating, I can't even say it, immunology. She's gone through the whole path there to try and understand how to help her son. But I think first what we need to do is a disclaimer that Down syndrome does not mean defected. It just means they're differently born. They're a wonderful gift to us. I did a show this last week on just being different and how we need to look at why we are seeing so many children born differently today. They're the gifted ones here to teach us to look at life in a different way, to experience life in a different way. Also, I think to get out of our own selves sometimes and look at what they're trying to show us. So welcome to the show, Karin, and let us dive right into it. My daughter, when she was first diagnosed, she got the confirmation the eve of her birthday. And the next morning, her first son woke up at 5, and there she is, very pregnant, with a picture of her son kissing her belly. And she wrote this beautiful piece about, although I've cried for the last 2 weeks, I'm sure that when I'm playing with my son, I am not going to see Down syndrome. I'm just going to see my boy, because he was a little boy. And that's the right approach to take, isn't it? I'm sure that when you first found out that Wesley had Down syndrome, you went through a reaction, and then you go through, what can I do about it? Welcome to
Yeah,
the show, hon.
thank you. Yeah, I will remember. I didn't know before he was born. On the day he was born, they sort of shared the suspicion with us. And then, of
Mm.
course, they had to do the blood test and confirm. So we heard it about 3 days later. And I remember my first reaction was like, oh, luckily nothing medical. Because I didn't know a lot about Down
Right,
syndrome.
yes.
And then my second thought was, okay, Down syndrome, that will be there and that will always be there. So it's
Mm.
not something that is going away or so.
Right.
But I was straight away okay with Down syndrome,
Mm.
not knowing a lot about it. But then when we got the confirmation a couple of days later, they instantly mentioned all the
Mm.
50% chance of heart disease, the thyroid issues, the gut issues. So that was sort of when I got really sad. I thought, what sort of life will we have with a
Mm.
son who is always gonna be sick and having operations and whatever? So I asked about the life expectation because I thought, gee, that sounds all pretty serious. I didn't know a lot about the medical
Mm.
stuff. And then he said to me, he said, well, it used to be around 20 because we couldn't do a lot on the heart surgery, but nowadays it's around 60. And I thought, okay, he should live longer than me. I thought that's fine. And then in the week after in the hospital, they gave me a list of all the diseases he was more likely to get. Well, people with Down syndrome are more likely to get. And I remember it was a long, awful list. And one that I remembered most was leukemia. That's like normal kids have a chance of, well, I don't know exactly, but say less than 1%. And with them, it was 10 times higher. And then I thought to myself, okay, if you go to medical school, you get a book this thick with all the diseases in it. Are we thinking every morning I could get any one of these diseases
Mm.
in this book? Because we could, right?
Yes.
Potentially. So I thought, what's the point? So I just decided to let it go and enjoy being a mother, and
Hmm.
just give him the best health, most healthy life in a natural way that I can give him. So for me, of course, breastfeeding was number one because I didn't know then the reasons behind it, but I always felt naturally that breastfeeding is the best you can give. Later on, I learned a lot about the science of glycobiology, and
Hmm.
we'll probably go into that. And now I know that breastfeeding, you give all the vital sugars for brain development and for the immune system. So I did that. It was a long way, I can tell you. It was he didn't drink at all in the beginning.
Mm.
From a bottle, not from the breast, nothing. So he got a nasal drip
Yes.
about 12 weeks. And I needed I'm not sure what you call it, a lactation specialist
Yeah.
who helped me. So it took about 4 weeks before he managed to drink for the very first time. And I remember every feed, he had forgotten how to do it. So it would
Yeah.
sometimes take 30 to 45 minutes
Hmm.
before it would work again. So it
Mm.
was really hard work. And I, of course, had to express milk. But in the end, I breastfed for 2 years.
Mm.
So the first few months were very stressful in the sense I had to check his weight, I had to express
Yes.
after feeding, I had to then give him the bottle, and sometimes I had to add a little bit of the formula milk to keep his weight up. But after 6 months, when he started normal eating, then it became more relaxed, and I did it like in the end only in the morning and the night, and it was really our moment together, and
Mm.
it's relaxed, and I would fall asleep most of the time to catch up on the
Yeah.
on my nights that were pretty broken, but at least I gave him a good start there. But I
Mm.
didn't know a lot at that point in time.
Mm. I mean, there is a reason, people think these breasts are sexual objects. They're actually there to provide nourishment for our
Yes.
babies. They have a purpose. With my three children I bred over 4 years, so each one of them went a certain period of time. I loved it because it was always accessible,
Yeah.
always the right temperature, and
Yes,
on tap, so to
absolutely.
speak. And yes, and I think it really does great benefit. Unfortunately, with my little grandson, they broke the femur when pulling him out, and so he was in a vice. And so it was really hard to breastfeed him. So she tried to express, but it was a lot of stress because yes, the eating problems, couldn't get enough food in him, and
Yeah,
the whole that nightmare because they are inclined to be underweight, right?
yeah,
And eating is a bit of a problem until you can get them into it. And he's still very, very small for his age. um and but he is who he is. And the harder thing is that his older brother used to call him my little Buddha bruiser, like he's he can't get enough food in him. And then you've got little Louis is like, yeah, not interested. So he's
yeah.
finally getting there. But I think that's
How
one of
old is he now?
he's 15 months now. He's
Okay.
15 months. So, and I think kind of the big but probably maybe 10 or 11 months in development. So eating solids now, but come see, come sound with the bottle. But happy, he's a happy
Yes.
kid. And I think we get so worried as parents. Are they getting enough food? Are they getting enough this? Are they doing this? And you're measuring against this guide. Well, they've got to have this intake and they've got to do this and they've got to be measured by that. And if you get caught up in that, it is a guide. It's not the
Yeah.
absolute. Listen to your baby, right?
Yes.
Right?
And as a
Because
mother, trust your own mother instinct as
yes,
well.
yes, yes.
So.
And if
I
you're
mean,
tense, they're going to be tense too.
yes, oh, definitely. And our kids are far more sensitive. I mean,
Mm.
all kids can read their parents, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure. But I think Downs are even to another level.
Hmm.
So I have a beautiful story about that later when he was, I'm thinking when he was 2, he was getting at that phase where he didn't want to eat a lot of stuff anymore. So until 2, he was a pretty good eater. And then they get into the phase, and I think other kids get at a 1.5 year
Hmm.
old. They suddenly start declining everything that
Hmm.
they used to like. And I decided to start mashing the food then with my
Potato
mixer.
masher. Yes.
Yeah, everything together, the meat, the potatoes, the vegetables, everything. Because I thought, okay, I'm not gonna give you alternative food because I
Hmm.
want you to keep learning, tasting all vegetables and all taste and everything. But I give you 2 options, or you eat it normally or you eat it mashed. And I did that for 3 years. And I remember one Friday night, I think we had like with aubergine, courgette, and minced meat, and I had mashed his bit, and it always looked brownish, not very tasty.
You know.
And he had finished it, and he wanted more. And I was tired, and I didn't feel like getting up and mash more. So I thought, okay, you had enough to eat. Either you get some of our stuff,
Yes.
or nothing anymore because that's also fine. So I just put it on his plate and he tasted it, and he since then I never mashed it
You're
anymore.
right. Right. It's kind
Oh,
of
and many
they're
people
cotton
with
on, right? They're cotton on.
yes, yeah. So many people challenged me for like, how long are you going to do this? And I was always convinced if he's 18, he won't eat it like that anymore. And I didn't know. I didn't
No.
know for how long, but I
Yeah.
just felt it's better to eat everything, the vegetables and the meat and the fish and whatever, and get all the taste than to replace it by bread or so, what many
Yeah.
people do, and just only feed them bread.
Right.
And he was eating his bread, by the way, normally, so he was still practicing the chewing and
Mm.
everything. So I thought, at least he eats everything.
Yeah. And that's, with any child, that's the balance. They go through, they love something for a period of time, and then it's like, "Ah, no,
Yeah,
I don't want that. Don't bring it near me." And that, that is a child. That's how they work. But, and we've got to listen. I think the worst thing is forcing, because when we force, we're going against their will, and either they become very defiant or they become a little fearful. So I
yes,
think, it's finding that fine line of in between until you can navigate and broaden those channels again. But that's every child. So in many,
yeah,
many ways, a Down syndrome child is not different. It's just that they are maybe slower to get there and they can't articulate as well.
correct. And their faces are a bit longer in the same phase.
Yeah.
So where other kids may not like food for, say, 6 months or so, it lasts longer. Every phase lasts longer. So I had another little trick when he started eating normally. Of course, he preferred the meat over the vegetables, like every kid almost. And if they eat meat. What I would always do is make a plate, and 50% would be vegetables, like a quarter would be meat or fish or
Hmm.
whatever we would eat from protein, and a quarter would be like the potatoes or the rice or the pasta. And I would make a little plate with those mix of amounts, and then he could get a second plate only if he finished all
Hmm.
categories.
Hmm.
So I didn't give him his whole plate in one go because he
Right.
could just eat the meat and then say, "Oh, I had enough, so I won't eat the rest." And then the next day again, again, again. So I would always make a small plate. So at least every lot he would eat, he would have 50% vegetables. And
Right.
he just knew, okay, you can start with the meat and then the potatoes or the rice or whatever, but you won't get a second filling until a second lot on your plate till the whole plate is empty. And that worked well. He just knew. And,
Yeah.
so it's some small tricks.
And that, again, that's with every child. I do
Yeah,
find that perhaps with Down syndrome, sometimes they can be a little more stubborn.
Yeah.
right? So you've just got to realize that that's, their stubbornity. I know. And, it's that navigation and
Yes.
negotiation, right, of getting around it.
And by the way, on that, when I mashed all his food, I got some really good advice from the lady who helped me with the potty training because that was a bit of a challenge. And I remember that one of my friends said, "Oh, when my kids were 1.5 or whatever, or maybe younger even, when they start eating like a whole piece of fruit, like an apple or banana, she would not give her kids anything else until they had
Mm,
finished that piece of fruit as a whole instead of mashed." And she
right.
said, and then after 1 or 2 meals, and they still get the apple
Mm,
presented and nothing else, they will just eat it. So I asked her advice, and she said to me, "Yeah, a normal child will eat after 1 or 2 meals, not giving him anything else than that apple. Your child will last 1 or 2 weeks.
hmm
So don't start it until you're ready for it,
Right.
else you'll lose it, the
Yes.
battle."
Yeah.
So, and I thought that was such a piece of good advice
hmm
because at the moment she said, "We're now doing the potty training. Focus on that. That's hard enough as it is.
hmm
Just leave all the rest as is. So don't worry about it." And you have to be ready yourself if you want
Yeah.
to really go for a change
Right.
because they last longer. They are very,
Yes.
uh,
And like one thing at a time,
yes,
right? I mean,
one
because
thing at a time.
especially, I mean, many children, autistic, Down syndrome, or just, many children, don't overload them with too much at once. It's
Yes,
just
correct.
too much for them, and especially when we're in a world where there's so much exterior going
Yes.
on. So focus on one thing at a time. And like
And
when,
also for yourself,
yeah,
you cannot focus on everything.
hmm
So you also, you need to be, I always say self-care is important. And that's
yes,
also what I learned from this lady. She said, you cannot look after your child if you don't look first after yourself. A
yeah,
very wise lesson.
yes,
Like the oxygen mask in the plane,
yeah,
right? You put on
exactly,
yours first and then you help your children.
right. And of
So yeah,
course, consistency with your partner. The partner needs to do the same as you. Don't confuse the child by the partner doing one thing and, the mum doing another, because that, for any child, I can play one off against the other, but,
yeah.
for a Down syndrome child can confuse them. So it's consistency. So whenever you are introducing something, make sure the whole family knows what's going on and everybody is consistent with it.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I also believe sometimes they do know with each person which rules apply.
Mm-hmm.
So we do say to the grandparents, like, for example, I never give him ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
I say you give it because then it belongs to your,
All right.
uh, what is it? Yeah, your system.
Mm-hmm.
And then he will expect it next time he's at your place, but he won't expect it at home.
Right.
So I also distinguish because they can connect certain elements to certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I use that to keep the frequency low.
Yeah. Yes, so they're not asking for you all to no, wait until you go to grandma's. Yes,
Now, and imagine you're on holiday and you walk along all these
mhm,
signs where they have all these ice creams.
yes.
And every time he will beg for one, then
Mm,
you have a really tough time.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
just not in our system. When he's with us, he will never ask for ice cream, and he just knows that's just not part of our
right,
habits.
right.
That's
Yeah,
it.
that's a good one.
It's sort of
Um,
creating habits. Yeah.
my daughter's family are completely vegan. And so he's being introduced to all the vegan foods and he gets all the vegetables and they add either peanut butter or avocado or something with it, the
Oh,
fatty
nice.
things into it. And he gobbles it up, actually. He's really, good at eating. And they're trying to introduce him to texture. So
Yeah.
things that he can touch. Of course, it's like this and then drop. As
Yeah.
every baby does, the floor gets
Yes.
more. I need to get a dog to clean it up, So, but he's really, I mean, he is a pure delight. And one thing I noticed, if he can suddenly, I had a friend over the other day, and he was crawling around and he was sitting in the kitchen. All of a sudden, he burst into tears. Right? And I went to pick him up. The moment I picked him up, he stopped and then he was engaged and smiling and bouncing about. they don't hold on to things. The only time I've seen him hold on to things, he got this awful hand, foot, and mouth thing, and he has sores in his mouth, and we couldn't get the milk in him, which had the medicine in him. We couldn't get the medicine in him on his own, and pull it. I've never seen him cry so much. It was awful. And
Oh,
but
okay.
then, like when he's better, he's better. There
Yeah,
isn't any drama being held over or anything. It's like, oh, I'm feeling good, so I'm good. And
yeah,
I think there's such a lesson to us. It's like, stop holding on to stuff, let
yes.
it
Oh
go
yeah,
and
we
be
can learn
present.
so much
Yeah,
from
definitely.
them. Yeah, they
Now,
are in the here and in the now.
very much so. And I think it's a great lesson for us in how to be in the now and also to appreciate the now and what the now is giving us, because we're so busy
Right.
projecting forward that we forget to be in the present. So they're a great reminder for that. Now, this took you down nutritional path, it took you down neural path, it took you down everything else for you to know how you can best benefit Wesley. So what was the first journey that you took in order to kind of help him out?
Well, when we started with eating, I already sort of knew that excessive sugar wouldn't be good, so I
No.
never gave him sweets and all that. And but when he was 5, I found a book in the organic supermarket, and it was called the Primal or Paleo Diet. So I read that and I tried that myself first. So it wasn't really for him to change his diet, but I did it for a week and I was so amazed by the results. I already had eczema for maybe 20 plus
Hmm.
years, and I just felt it was healing
Mm.
in a week.
Wow.
So I thought that's interesting.
We
And
are
then,
what we eat. We are what we
yeah,
eat. Yeah.
absolutely. So I was just leaving out grains and dairy basically.
Hmm.
And I substituted that by vegetables. So I was
Yes.
eating more vegetables and probably a bit more protein, like eggs and nuts and stuff. And I discussed it with a friend of mine who had diabetes type 2, and he did his own research and read some books about it, and he tried it, and he could, after a week or so, reduce his insulin in
Hmm.
like with 50%.
Yes.
So I was just sort of curious. I thought, what would it do to my son? Because we had such different results with the same diet. And I
Hmm.
was being curious. So, but I thought, how can you move a kid away from grains and dairy if his favorite foods are pancakes and
Hmm.
bread with cheese? And
There's
so
great vegan cheese. There's great alternative milks now, right?
I
So,
know,
yeah.
I know, but I thought it's still challenge. So I started baking banana bread, like
Hmm.
with almond flour and with coconut flour,
Hmm.
and I remember the first time he saw it, he was 5 in the meantime. So then they really get like, oh, I don't know that, so I don't like that.
Right.
I'd already learned he's pretty visual, so he looks at food and he judges it based on what it
Hmm.
looks like. But I've also learned if he's distracted visually, then he's not so much looking at what he's eating. So we
Hmm.
use it as a little child as well, you know. So that afternoon after school, I put him in front of the TV with one slice of the banana bread cake. It tastes like cake, I thought. Pretty good taste. And he was just watching TV and taking small bites. And after an hour, he came and he wanted another slice. And I thought, okay, now you like it.
Yeah.
So we got over that first. So I started giving that to school as a lunch instead of
Hmm.
the normal wheat bread.
Hmm.
And yeah, we started supplementing the breakfast away from porridge with normal dairy, cow milk. And and then after, well, I think already after 6 weeks or so, my husband was noticing that he didn't need his handkerchief all the time for
Hmm.
Wesley. So he was like, wow. And I thought, oh, I had almost, you forget so easily,
Yes.
but he always had runny noses all year round, 365
Mm.
days. That was part of Downs, we believed.
Mm.
So he also had ear tubes because there was
Right.
fluid behind his eardrums,
Yeah.
and we thought, oh, that's also part of Down. So, but all those issues just went away. And then after about 6 months, the yearly school photo was taken, and I have to show that to you. So this was the 18th of October 2012, and this was 2013 in October.
Hmm.
So. Oh, sorry, do I do it? No, this is, sorry, I do it the wrong way around. No, so this is the first one, and this is the
Right?
second one. And I don't know if you can see it clearly, but
The first one is looking a little dark, so bring that one over to the light a little bit.
um,
Yeah, there we go.
better.
Right, right.
So, I
Yes,
mean, his skin was so much better. His
yes.
eyes were so much better. They were always infected, and his weight was getting better. And I
Yes, you can
mean,
see
this
he's
is a child that's already on an organic diet,
yeah,
already on a sugar-free diet, but I'm now taking out mainly the wheat
yes,
and the
yes.
dairy. So just diet, this is.
Yeah. Well,
So I,
wheat and dairy, can be, and people don't realize that, especially, I mean, here in North America, we're the worst, because they have DNA'd, you know,
yeah,
all
it's
sorts of stuff
one,
into it now. And I've done quite a number of shows, people who've gone down the health road would say, drop wheat
yes,
completely,
yeah,
drop
it's getting
dairy.
more familiar. But I
Yes.
didn't know then, and he was tested on celiac. He wasn't
Mhm.
celiac. He was
Mhm.
tested on cow milk allergy. He didn't have that, and I
Right.
see the results. So I thought
Yes.
that's interesting. So that's when I decided I want to learn more about it because now I have myself with my eczema, my friend with the diabetes
Mhm.
type 2 that was getting better, and my son who is changing so
Yes.
much
Yes.
and not having the specific celiac disease issue.
Right.
So I contacted the guy who wrote the book and I said, what do I need to study? Because if I go for dietitian, I remember from when I was young that everybody was doing the calorie counting diet.
Hmm.
I thought I don't want to learn that. I want
Right.
to, well, yeah, I want to do something different. And then he said, oh, you should do orthomolecular medicine. And I'd never heard of that. So
Hmm.
and ortho means right in Greek. So you're really learning about the right molecular environment for your body to function in the best way. And so I did that. I did the courses for 2 years. We did a bit on evolutionary medicine, and yeah, I completed all of those. And there, of course, I learned about the grains and the modern wheat and all those things. And so I also started giving supplements.
Hmm.
And but what I didn't know back then, and I learned later, because later, oh yeah, I remember now how it moved on the story. Um, I was asked for the Downs Association to be part of the people organizing the events.
Hmm.
And I thought to myself, I don't really want to spend all my time on that. I'd rather do something with what I know now with the food. So
Yeah.
I said to them, why don't I ask for healthy food? Because we always got a lot of sponsoring from local supermarkets. Why don't I ask from the organic supermarket if we can get some health foods to have available on these events where all the parents and the Downs children come together? Because all our kids, I mean, many struggle with issues and health issues. And I don't know how your grandchild is, but Wesley and many other Downs children, they like eating a lot and they don't really have a moment that they feel they are satisfied. So they can overeat quite a bit. So
It
if you
hasn't
have
got there yet.
no, you will find out later. So if you only supply sugary sweets and
Mm.
cakes and all that sort of stuff, and they don't eat one cupcake, but after 10, you still sort of have to take them away, and they are crying because they can't have any anymore. I thought, why having all that on display? Why don't we have something healthy? Then the
Mm.
parents have a more relaxing time as well
Yes.
because they don't
This
have to
is the
keep
only
traveling.
option. Yeah.
So I wrote to the organic supermarket and they said, yes, we are willing to do that. I gave a bit of the background and they said, in exchange for your story in our magazine.
Hmm.
So they did a 2-page story on what I just told you about. And then I was approached by another health coach. And she said, have you heard of glyconutrition? And I thought, no, I haven't. And she informed me about this book, A
A gift
Gift.
called Michelle.
Yes. So I thought that's interesting. I read everything from the Downs Association, but I'd never seen this book. So it
Hmm.
was sort of a challenge to get it in Netherlands because you can only order it in US. but they shipped it in the end. And I read it, and it's all about glyconutrition. It's such an inspirational story about this girl that had a lot of medical issues. And I won't go into what it is because you can never say that supplements heal. They just
Right.
provide your
They
body
enhance.
build.
Yes.
Yeah, they provide the building blocks so that
Hmm.
your body can do what it needs to do.
Hmm.
But in this girl, it was they were told by a friend about glyconutrition, and the father believes in it, the mother doesn't so much, but the father orders quite a bit of stock on that, and the mother gives it occasionally because it's in there in the cupboard in the kitchen. And the girl was like almost monthly in hospital, and then suddenly she realized she hadn't been into hospital with her for quite some time. And she thought, could it be from the supplement? And then she started giving it regularly. And this girl, she came over all her medical conditions. And
So what is it exactly? Is it a nutrient? Is it what is it?
glyconutrition, it's about sugars,
Mm,
but there are 8 sugars, and our food only contains nowadays 2. And of course, we all know glucose, that's one
mm,
of them. But every cell in our body is coated with these sugars.
mm,
And we should get them from our food. But because we eat a lot of processed food and we
mm.
have, of course, our soil is depleted and all those elements. So we don't get a lot of those anymore. And what they do is they are communication. So the cell communicates with the environment via these strands of sugar at the outside. And every living cell, whether it's an animal, a plant, a human, every living cell is coated by these sugars. So it's a huge science.
Mm.
And it's so interesting that hardly anyone has heard of it, but
Right.
every serious university is teaching about them.
It's probably except for
So-
North America because pharma is very
oh
much in
no.
charge of that. Oh, they are? They're teaching
Oh
it?
yeah. Oh
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
surprised they're not
But
getting pushback.
no, yeah, but I mean, what they are doing is they're trying to see if they can make it synthetically. That's the
Exactly. Yes,
progress.
if there's profit to be made from it, yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
but they are so complex that they
Hmm.
haven't worked that out yet.
Good.
So where proteins are like amino acids in a row, so
Hmm.
it's linear, and then they get folded. These sugars are like the branches of a tree. So every time one changes a little bit, you have a different one. So the combination possibilities are endless. But I
Mm,
mean, it's just basic. Yeah, you should get it from like fruits and
mm,
seaweed and stuff like that. But most people don't eat that a lot, and
right.
they don't contain so much anymore. And what I learned as well, so via this lady, I ordered a book and read it. But that's how I met Kathleen,
Hmm.
because in the Netherlands, Kathleen was teaching the classes about the glyconutrition, about the glycobiology, and it's now called glycoscience. And so I went to one of her classes, and I never left since then, because then she set up a whole course,
And a book,
and then she wrote a book.
which is in the background there.
So, yeah, I can see it in your
Yes, yes, got to listen to her show. I'll put a
yeah.
link to it on
So,
my shop page.
but I thought, gee, this is interesting. I studied all this orthomolecular. But the other thing I learned there, because she was also connecting with Angie and Larry Law in the US with the Angie's Option, the grassroots movement. So I also listened to Larry's wellness journey, where he talks about why modern wheat is not healthy.
Hmm.
But another major thing I hadn't learned in all my orthomolecular education is the difference between natural and synthetic supplements.
Yeah, yes.
Because if you just look at the biochemistry and if you look at, then it may be the same. But if you look holistically with the
Mm,
light and the energy and all that, it's not the same.
yeah, yeah.
So then I also realized that maybe some of the supplements I had been giving to myself and to my son weren't that good after all. So I started changing over to totally natural supplements. So the glyconutrients and also a multivitamin and some vitamin D in winter and stuff like that. And Yeah, I noticed myself because I always try things myself. I never
Hmm.
give my son something that I don't take myself
Hmm.
because I want to know what it feels like. But I was going to bioresonance at that time. I had a lot of allergies, and I always had high cortisol levels.
Mm.
So stress. And I mean, stress can be anything. People think stress is mental stress, but you can also have stress from toxins in your environment, from the
Absolutely.
air you're
Absolutely.
breathing, from the food you're
Yes.
eating. It can be anything. So I
Hmm.
didn't know what was causing it. So, but after 3 months on the glyconutrition, the guy measured me again and he said, what are you doing? Because your cortisol levels are normal, they're stabilized. So I
Hmm.
thought, well, I didn't change anything else. So it has to be the glyconutrition.
Hmm.
So it's very difficult to say, of course, what it does to my son because you don't know what he would be if I wouldn't give it to him.
Hmm.
But all I can say, it's a very important supplement for cell-to-cell communication. So that's
Right.
also your immune system cells. If they have the means to communicate, like
Yes.
we
The
communicate with
fiber
language,
optics. Yeah.
then you can distinguish a virus from a something healthy in your body. You can distinguish your own cells from viral bacterial cells. So your immune system should attack viruses and bacteria. It should not
Yes.
attack your own cells, which
Right.
is called autoimmune disease.
Mm.
So it should also clean up your own cells if they're no longer healthy, like cancer cells. So, but you do need to be able to distinguish all of that.
Yeah.
So you need your eyes and your ears to communicate and to see what's happening in your body. So
I
I'm
mean,
just,
this isn't just, I mean, you experimented, how does it feel on me before you gave it to Wesley? And if it can benefit you, obviously it's going to benefit him. But this at the particular moment is what everybody needs to do. One of the biggest problems facing us, especially in Western society, is toxicity in our body. And it's
yes,
through the foods that we eat. Even if you think you're
yeah,
buying organic all the time, you do have the outside elements, the shampoos. The biggest
yeah,
organ is your skin. It's absorbing everything. And
yeah,
if we're not detoxifying properly, when a cell breaks down, it can contaminate other cells so quickly. And if those other cells aren't fortified, they're going to go down like a pack of cards, right?
yes, yes, absolutely, yes. So, we do everything we can. So you can choose which foods you eat. You can choose organic. You can, eliminate plastics out of your household. You
Yes.
can There's an awful lot you can do, but of course, the air you breathe, there's not
Mm.
much choice you have. I mean, you may be able to choose whether you live in a village or in a city or whatever, but
Or at the top of a mountain, yes.
we all yeah, we all are exposed to toxins, and
Yes,
that's why you want to. I mean, in the ideal world, you wouldn't need supplements,
exactly.
but
But
until
back
yeah,
in the day, um before processed food came about, right? With all the
yes,
additives to save food or longer life on the shelf, you ate, you went to the market maybe once a week, you ate that, then you went back to the market, and it was local market where farmers came along, always local food. And so you always were eating good, um, nutritional
yeah,
with great DNA in the foods in there that would supplement you. And then we went into the revolution of, canned, but frozen, and if some freezing can be done if as long as it's done right, but it's all the added chemicals. And you look at a label today, and I get all
pronounce.
right, and you cannot pronounce, and if you cannot pronounce it, do not put it in your body. And even looking at your shampoos and looking at your makeup, looking at anything that you do, is we've become so immune to this could be toxic and killing you. Cancer has never been higher. Heart disease
No,
has never been higher. Anxiety has never been higher. Diabetes too has never been higher. You've got so many diseases today that, I have fibromyalgia, which Kathleen said it is toxicity in the fibrous, which is not
yeah,
able to release. So she's put me on B12, a particular product, to help clear that out over a period of time.
yeah,
Half the time, we don't know how to combat. You know, I'm eating only organic, I'm eating only vegetables, I'm eating only this. How come I'm still like this? And it's
Yes.
because what we're not doing is putting the right supplements in our body that can support our body. And it's
Yeah.
busy trying to defend us. How can it defend us when we're being bombarded left, right, and center, and we haven't given it the ammunition to
No,
fortify itself?
exactly. Yes, yeah, that's very well explained. So yes, so it's, I mean, yes, at this point in time where we are now, we just need it to,
Yeah.
in order to, be the best version of who we can be in the toxic world we are living in. So I am positive about a better future, but
Hmm.
until then, we just need to, help ourselves and give us ourselves good food, good supplements, and yeah, do the maximum we can do in order to survive the toxicity.
Yes. So this glyco, does it come in a pill form? Is it a liquid form? Are there some companies better than others? Because if somebody says, okay, I'm really intrigued now, I want to know, or I do have a child with Down syndrome, I want to give them the best benefit. Autism child, doesn't matter. Everybody needs to be supported. It doesn't matter where you're at. But
No.
as you said, pharma wants to kind of capitalize on this, but how do you actually know what you're getting that really is the pure product? How much do you know how to take according to your body type or whatever? I mean, give us a little
Yeah.
advice on that.
Yeah. I don't say anything about brands because I haven't checked them out, but via Larry and Angie, is a researcher. So if you go to his website, angiesoption.com, you will find all their work. So he did all the,
Can you spell that name out? So, because I'm going to put it up here on the show.
okay, Angies, and then option, APOPTION.com.
Okay, I will
And
definitely add that to the show page.
yeah, that's really worth it, especially for the people in US because
Mm,
it's their region. So Larry checked this out. He studied this. He's put in 10,000 of hours.
hmm
So he found a great company, and yeah, they have it all natural. The way they freeze dry it, it's a
mm,
powder. And of course, it also depends on where you grow it, because
mm,
if you grow it in countries that are more have more air pollution, then of
mm,
course the plants also attract that.
right.
So, but I would suggest if you give my email, people can contact me, because I think it is important that you get guidance on how to build it up, because that's also good to know.
Yes.
You can, when you start detoxifying, you get negative impact initially. You can get,
Yes.
not
Yes.
everybody. So I always had my allergies are also detoxifying via my skin.
Mm,
So I get itchy. So when I started taking it the first week, I got really itchy all over my skin. So I had to reduce the amount a bit and then gradually build it
yeah.
up. But after 2 weeks, that was gone, and then I never had any problems. Other people can get slight headaches,
Hmm.
or it just depends on what your normal weak spot is. And then you may think, oh, it's not working. But the
Yeah.
fact that you feel something means that it is
Yes.
working.
It is, you've got to realize you're living with the toxicity in your body, and your body's trying to function and you're trying to function, and you just don't realize how much stress your body is in and
Yeah.
how that affects your mental and every spiritual and every other aspect of you. When you start detoxifying, of course you're going to go through reactions. The
Yes.
weakest sense that you have is that's where it's going to come out first. Your cellular structure changes, renews every 3 months. So what you have to do is allow that 3 months for that cellular to be cleansed out. And then if you're taking the product, that means that next cellular structure is going to automatically be stronger. And then you're
Yeah.
really going to have the benefits. It took you a lifetime to get this messed up. Do not expect over 24 hours it's going to change. Stay
No.
with it, be diligent, drink a great deal of water, because your body, when it toxins, it wants to release. So you must drink a lot of healthy water so it can release, and bear with it because it's worth
Yes.
it in the end.
Yes, absolutely. And you need to take it at least 3 to 6 months. I would say
Mm,
6 months, but I started feeling after 3 months. And I know my mom, when she started taking it, she had high blood pressure.
mhm,
And after a couple of months, that got better. So, I mean, everybody has a different impact because it depends on where your issues are.
Yes.
And you can compare it almost with if you haven't been in the attic of your house for say 20 years and you suddenly turn on the light, you see all the cobwebs.
Yes.
And now your cells starts getting all these hairy structures and it can see suddenly.
I can
So if you
see.
switch on the light, and it will see a lot of stuff that needs to be cleaned out there that wasn't
Exactly.
visible before. So
Spring
yeah,
cleaning for your intestines, right?
yes, exactly. And not that all over your body,
Right.
every cell. So
Um,
every cell needs it.
Yeah, exactly. I had a wonderful woman, they used to call her snake oil woman, because back in the 60s, she'd be promoting, nutrients and additives and alternative. And she was a host on my show for 5 years, Wise Health, you can still find it. And she would share mountains full of knowledge and things of what to do about it. But she always used to say, colon, kidney, and liver. If they're in trouble, the rest of you is in trouble. If you have heart disease, look at your colon, kidney, and liver.
Yep.
Because if they're not releasing the toxins, if they're in trouble, the rest of you is going to be in trouble. And so that cellular structure needs to support all of that. And so we need to, that's where you're going to detoxify from. And that's where
Yeah.
we really need to release. And that's,
Yes.
we don't realize we put so much garbage in our body. And even if you are the purest of eater, the environment isn't pure.
Yes.
Your skin is breathing it in. You're breathing it in through your nose. And
Yes. Every day.
you've got to fortify. We
Yes.
buy life insurance, car insurance, health insurance. We buy all the insurances, right?
Yes.
Hoping we don't need to use it. Look at this as an insurance for your body.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, yeah, your body and your health is the first thing, right?
That's where your
Without
true
it.
enrichment is. If your body,
Yeah.
is sick, you're poor.
Yes.
Because it's going to cost you a great deal to get well, but you cannot function in life. Everything is about your ill health. And so
Yes.
when you are well, you're truly enriched because everything becomes clearer in life.
Yes, yes. So yeah, I can recommend everybody, not just Down's children, but I
Yep.
think I mean, and there, as I said in this book, you have the one example, and this is the same girl, by the way.
Right. Yes, I can see in the picture. For
She
those that are
came,
just listening, a gift called Michelle, look it up because you can see by the cover the difference that it's made. And
yeah,
we want our children to have as much fortification as they possibly
yeah.
can, right?
And
As
the good
much
thing is,
option,
it's only 36 pages, and it
right?
has quite some pictures in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really not for people who are not into reading so much. It's
Right.
still a doable book, and it's so worthwhile.
Down syndrome children, they have different options to children with autism. I've interviewed children of autism, and many of them are very gifted. They're very focused. They're very
Mhm.
selective of who's around them. They're very much in their world and don't want to be out in that other world. I hear them. I don't want to be out in that static world. I rather have a few good friends, focusing on what I love to do, than being out there amongst all that chaos and everything else that just disconglobulating. So in many
Mhm.
ways, there again, they're to teach us. It's not about how much or how many, it's about the quality of the few and to focus on what you're doing. But they also, many of them can have health challenges or certainly nervousness and trepidation and things like that. So this is something that obviously is going to benefit them as well. The thing with children with Down syndrome, because it's a chromosome that is missing, they're never going to live that life, quite the same. There is a young girl here in North America that is an interviewer, and she's got this great video out there. Don't assume I can't, because maybe I will. And she's got great attitude. There are plenty of young actors with Down syndrome that are doing exceptional work. Is that we kind of think, oh, they'll never amount to anything. Your own son has a vlog, right? A video blog, which I've looked at. Unfortunately, I can't understand his language. But I'm
Oh
watching
no,
the things that he's doing, and it's like the spirit of who they are shines through. So
Yes.
don't look at them or they're limited compared to everyone else. No, what they do in their way, which is a beautiful light that really
Yes.
shines bright. And it's look to anything that everybody, we're all good at doing something, but we want to focus on what we can't do. Why are we worried about
Yes.
what we can't do? Let's look at what we can do.
Yes. Yeah, and we are in our society so much focused on the cognitive ability.
Yes. Yeah.
So if they are not strong, we sort of see you as disabled.
Yes.
But you can be gifted in so many different ways. And
Exactly.
the Down's children, they in general don't speak as well as normal
Hmm.
people, and especially true for my son. But as you said, they are this light that's shining. They are they help us in what I've learned from a spiritual trendsetter lady in the Netherlands. She was getting downloads about Down syndrome, unexpected and unasked for.
Hmm.
So she was just asked to help this community because she was told that we don't see their gift to us, to humanity. And
Hmm.
she got a lot of information, like that we all receive prana energy.
Yes.
They receive it in bigger amounts.
Yes.
And the way their tongue is a bit bigger and
Mm,
thicker, and that they don't speak so well, that all it is made like that so that they can better channel this energy and give
mm.
it to their surroundings. So
Exactly.
if you
It's
think
not what
about
they're saying, it's what they're
oh,
saying.
exactly.
Yeah.
And she also explained that their aura,
Mm,
normally you have your aura like a meter or half a meter
mhm.
around you, and if you're sick, it's closer. But they can expand it to put it over their whole classroom. If they are in a classroom with 30 kids, their aura can be as big as the whole classroom.
Yes,
So what that means is that they also feel everything from
they
every
do. They
that
do,
class.
which negative or good, but they also can project joy. And it's interesting. I did another show on aquatics, and they say children, especially with their ears, don't have them swimming until ears are sorted out, maybe three. But in the water, they become one with the water. There's such a,
Yeah.
water is a conduit anyway, and it becomes one with the water, but also with horses. And the interesting thing about horses, their heart resonance expands 3 to 4 times more than it does in a human,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So when you actually look at a child with Down syndrome, and as I said, they can cry one moment, the next moment they're just smiling and laughing and happy, that resonance of who they are just expands out. It just
Yes.
expands out. Stop
Yeah.
looking and comparing. I hate the word compare,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Orange and apple, they're both fruits. It's just preference, right? So stop
Yeah.
comparing. Instead, look at the divine gift that they are. Are you
Yeah.
smiling? Are you
Yes.
feeling good? That's the gift that they've just given you.
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, I totally agree with you. So they are unique. They have their own reason for being here
Yeah.
and to bring to the world what they come to bring. And I also believe that I mean, I never tell my son that he can't do anything. I
Hmm.
always, whatever you want to learn, you can learn.
Hmm.
And you may take a bit longer in some things than others, but everybody has his strengths and his weaknesses. And but yeah, allow them to develop whatever they want to develop
Yeah.
instead of trying to make them into us. And
Yes. Yes.
and
That's cross parenting across the way, right? They are not carbon copies of you. They're their own unique being, right?
yes,
Discover who
uh,
they are and honor that. Yeah.
yeah. And up to the age of 10, of course, I spent time on the things I thought were important for him, like riding a bike,
Hmm.
swimming, but he doesn't drown, reading and math, we did a bit, and clock, both digital and the analog clock. But after 10, I was sort of, okay, now it's up to you. What do
Hmm.
you want to learn? Because it's not working if you keep, I mean, writing he doesn't like. He just
Right.
doesn't like it. So I thought, let go of it,
Mm.
To nowadays you don't write letters at any rate. It's all
Yeah.
computer. And he keeps saying, I want to be a YouTube game vlogger. And of course, I don't know how to do that, so I cannot teach that. But I thought, okay, you can start making vlogs of your life. And luckily, we had a very nice guy when we still lived in Amsterdam, who helped him learn that, because I didn't know how to put videos together and all that. So that's another lesson I learned. Find people who are passionate
Yes.
about something to work with your child.
Yeah.
Because if you don't feel the passion yourself, it won't work, because they feel your energy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
noticed my son would always play with me with different toys than with my husband, based on our preferences.
Mm.
We could pick up what we enjoy doing, and that's what he wanted to play with us, because then our energy feels nice to be in.
Yeah.
That's how sensitive they are. So they
They're in
sometimes,
tuned. They're totally in tuned.
yes,
Yes.
but it also means they are pleasers. So
Mm.
they like to please, because then the atmosphere just feels better.
Yeah.
So it can also be a challenge there for sometimes to really figure out what they like.
Mm. Yeah. Are they just
So,
saying it because they want to please you, or because it's really their joy? And I
yeah,
think with all children, I'm a parent of three. Did I parent right? Most likely not. I did the best that I could. I've got three great children. I'm very grateful for that. They're all on their journey. My son's just about to get married. Um, my daughter has the two children. My other one's a free butterfly. And they're all their own unique selves. They've all got their own scars from, being brought up and everything. But it's all about the essence of who you are. And
yeah,
this is the reason why this network was called self-discovery, because we are on that discovery of who are we? What are we
yeah,
here for? What's our instrument? How do we play it? Which orchestra do I play it in? Right? And whether autism or Down syndrome or anything else, everybody's looking to find out what their instrument is, how to
yes,
play it, and whom to play it for. And
yeah,
so they're just the same way navigating, they just do it differently. And if
yes,
we could open up to seeing how they navigated, it could open up some channels for us instead of being so rigid. Oh, it's got to be this, it's got to be that.
yeah,
Instead, open up and go, okay, I like that approach that he takes. Wonder if I took it.
yes, yes. No, that's absolutely true. Beautifully said.
So basically, through your journey having this child, not only have you learned about all the nutrition that has helped you and your husband, but how it's helped your son, right?
Yes,
So he doesn't have the ears and the runny nose, and he doesn't have any of those things anymore. He's a healthy boy.
he's healthy. He doesn't take any medication. He is quite tall for a Down's
Hmm.
child. I think he's 1 meter 70 centimeters. I don't know what it equates in how you would say that,
Yes,
but
I know. I have to look that up because I go by foot and inches. Yes.
and another topic that I'm also very interested in is, of course, Alzheimer's, because I
Mm,
read every time that, of course, more and more people in general get Alzheimer's,
hmm.
but Down's children very often, I still call them children, but at the age of 40,
Yes.
because since their average life expectancy is 60, 40 is sort of already pretty old.
Yeah, 40s already, they're 60, and their 60s kind of their
Yeah.
80, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I went to a symposium once in the Netherlands, and they discussed this Alzheimer thing. And all they talk about is they're doing studies in mice. They're
Mm,
doing medication, medicine studies, and the best advice they had for the parents was, because when you get Alzheimer's, you go back in time, right? You
hmm.
forget the most recent, and you go back in time. Keep stuff from when they're young so that they have comfortable
Yes.
stuff around them. And I thought to myself, is that the best advice I
Yeah. So you're saying it's inevitable. That's what they're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically, like
Hmm.
1 in 2 or 1 in 3 gets it. And I thought that's a pretty, yeah, miserable outlook.
Yeah. Yes.
So of course, I'm always interested. Okay, isn't there anything else we can do? And then I came across another beautiful book. I have the Dutch version, but it's an American book from a Dr. Dale Bredesen, The End of Alzheimer's. He
Mm,
wrote a book on that, a lifestyle program to prevent cognitive decline.
mm.
So I read it. It's a purely orthomolecular book, I would say, because for me it was sort of easy reading. But he describes Alzheimer's as a house with a roof with 50 holes in it. So it's
Mm,
leaking.
yes.
He said you will never find one pill that
Mm,
fixes all 50 leaks. So it's a very big combination of elements that you need to work on. You don't have one single problem and you get Alzheimer's
right.
suddenly. And you get all the same topics like you get in any other chronic disease. It's like inflammation,
Mm-hmm.
high sugar levels, sort of diabetes type 3. It's toxicity.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small part can be genetics, but so some people have a higher likelihood. But even if all the other factors are all right, they don't need to get it. So I
Mm.
thought this is really a book that gives hope
Yes.
because,
Prevention, right?
yeah, it's
Prevention, not just
prevention.
acceptance it's going to happen.
You don't have to wait until you get it
Yeah.
to read the book and do something with it because a lot is about the things we are already doing, you
Yeah.
know. I don't give him sugary foods. I took out the modern grains. I mean, maybe ancient grain can be good for some people, but we took out the wheat. So
Mm,
that's also high in sugar.
mm,
So lots of the things in that book we are already doing.
mm.
And the other thing I just told you about this spiritual trendsetter in the Netherlands, she predicted 30 years ago that Alzheimer would be increasing
Yes,
because there's
yes.
also a more spiritual aspect of it.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
You need to digest everything in your life.
Yeah.
And Kathleen also teaches about that.
Yes,
So
yes, I'm very much an
how
advocate for that. Yes. This,
yeah, how food is helping to digest our experience and emotions and feelings. So our lives are so much more busy now. I
mm-hmm,
mean, all the stimulants we get, like the social media, the
mm-hmm.
watching TV, the news.
Yeah.
I mean, if you compare
People don't
our
know how
lives
to be
with one,
still and quiet anymore, do they? Just
no, no.
in the presence of. Yeah.
And the phones, of course,
Mm-hmm.
bleeping all day long. You
Yeah.
can work 24 hours a day
Yes.
nowadays.
Yes.
It's not like in the old days you would write a letter and a month later you would
Get a
get
response.
it.
Yeah. Or it just arrived.
So, so everything is going so fast,
hmm
and that's another reason why it's more likely to get Alzheimer's at the end of your life, sort of to clean all the undigested stuff before you pass over.
Yeah.
So knowing that, I try to build in more time for my son to do nothing.
Yes. There's such a gift in nothingness. I wish people would understand that. I like
Yeah,
just kind of sitting in nature. I right outside my window have this wonderful monkey puzzle tree. And all around me are trees and trees and trees. And sitting out there
yeah,
when there's a breeze and everything is just moving and just letting your thoughts go. Whatever,
yeah,
I'm not thinking. The thoughts are just in and out, in and out, in and out, doing their own thing. And I'm not
yeah,
focusing on any one of them. I'm just being in my space. And people
yeah.
don't know how to be in their space anymore. I talk about this a great
No.
deal. Being
And
in
it already
silence.
starts in school.
Yes,
I mean, you
yes,
have to be efficient all the time, productive all the time.
yes.
So luckily, he's now in a very great school where there is time for, relaxing. After an activity that takes a lot of their energy, he can just, get a break and relax. And he sometimes even falls asleep when he has a break.
Yeah,
So,
I remember when I was at boarding school after lunch, we would always have an hour where we could sit outside in the garden making daisy chains, or you could read a book. But it was quiet time,
that
right?
doesn't exist anymore, I think,
Oh,
the
you
rest
know,
of
it doesn't exist in
education.
anything where it's just cram, cram, cram. And what we're doing is oversaturating, oversaturating, and information is not getting in. We're dumbing people down by trying
Yeah,
to shove too much in inane content in there that it's not relative to our existence at all. And
no,
they always say
exactly.
if you don't use it, you lose it. Now, my mum um, died at 95. Probably up to about 94 and a half. She used to watch this crossword puzzle show. What was it called? It was in England. It'd been going for a long time. And they did mathematical equations and they did word association equations. And she would have an 80 to 90% accuracy on it. Right. And she'd
Wow.
do crossword puzzles every day. Now, I am dyslexic. So for me, columns are not good. I can read those things that are upside down and backwards, but I can't read columns because I get lost. They won't kind of
Hmm.
move around for me. But is find something that you are engaged in,
Yes.
right? That you are almost stepping out of self and you're
Yes.
focusing in on, um, but always challenging yourself to
Yes. And for me,
try
that's
something new.
piano playing.
Mm. Keep the brain inquisitive and always wanting to learn, right?
Yes.
And being able to focus in on something because that keeps the brain engaged. And you hear this all the time. People who retire, they've got nothing after retirement. They're doing nothing. They're watching TV and they're dead within a few months because
Yes.
everything shuts down. You don't need me anymore,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. That's sad, isn't it?
It is. So we've got to be proactive about our health. And, this is the reason it's under the title, Your Health is Your Choice, because
Yes.
it doesn't matter who you are. Um, our health is our choice. And one of the things that we've got to do is be more inquisitive.
Yes.
The doctors, God bless them, they do great work in their limited thing. But I've also interviewed doctors who have been blacklisted for talking
Yeah.
holistically,
Yes.
right?
But this guy, Dil Bredesen, he's a neurologist.
Hmm.
So, I mean, and that also makes it incredible, makes it credible, right?
Yes.
That the story, I mean, he has this background of
Yep.
medicine and he writes this book. And there's another great book, and you probably heard about it. It's the Grain Brain.
Hmm.
So that's also a doctor,
Yes.
also from the US, I believe. So, I
I'm
mean,
probably being ostracized and blacklisted because they're not promoting money, right? They're not promoting
no,
drugs. They're
that's
not
true. But
promoting, treatments. They're promoting, quite honestly, the common sense medicine.
yes, yes. And I mean, we should be grateful that we have the mainstream, because if
Yes,
you break a
everything has
leg
its
or
need.
if
Yeah,
you have a heart attack, I
yeah,
think I couldn't help you.
right.
But I think on the chronic diseases where mainstream doesn't have an answer, I think it's very good to combine the two and,
Well,
the
immune
best of
system.
each world.
Why are
Yeah,
our immune systems so weak? We're modern day medicine where we're meant to be able to fix everything, yet we have more immune system problems than ever before. And it's
yeah,
like, why? We have
yeah,
more access to food, more access to this, more access to that. And it doesn't matter how much yoga, how much jogging, how much this or how much that you do. If you're not taking care of all of you, mind,
yeah,
heart, body, soul, spirit,
yeah. Body,
you are
mind,
not
spirit.
looking after yourself. It's
Uh,
more than just the physical. But if
yeah.
the physical's in distress, so will you be your spirit. If your spirit's in distress, so will be your physical.
Yeah, yeah, you need to look at all elements. And I think another important element is also to realize that everybody is unique. So also in the area of foods, you cannot say that one diet works for
Yes,
everybody.
yes,
I
yes.
just wanted to mention that because
Mm,
for us, the primal diet works. Later on, of course, I figured out it's not because of eating the meat or whatever. It's for leaving out the modern grain, the
yes,
modern wheat. And dairy, of course, is pesticides, and there's also reasons for it. So, but of course, everybody has to figure out what works for himself. And I think just by listening to other people and what they find on their journey, they can feel what resonates, they can try things, and you have to also learn to listen to your own body and feel what works for you.
exactly. And we're so busy band-aid it,
Yeah.
right? Instead of getting to root cause. And again,
Yes.
your health is your choice, your root cause. This is
Yes.
you. This is your generator. If your generator's not working, nothing else is going to work in your body. So
No.
you need to investigate, listen, learn, and apply, and try
Yes.
things out for your own
Yeah.
health. This isn't it for someone to come along and say, oh, I'll chop it off, or I'll give you a pill, or I'll download an app. This is for
Yeah.
you to go through the process. Everything you've talked about today has been about detoxifying and fortifying.
Yes.
Two things that should
Absolutely.
be in our vocabulary. Detoxifying, we talk about it all the time, detoxifying yourself from negative friends, negative
Yes.
environments. That also
Yeah.
goes from negative things you're putting in your body.
Yes. And
Fortifying,
on your body.
yeah. And the fortifying is, are you fortifying your mind, heart, body, and soul to be as optimized as it can be in order to weather whatever storms you're going through in life? We're not
Yes.
focusing on that. We're
No,
focusing on the exterior, not the interior.
correct. And then about Down syndrome, let them also find out what they need to be happy and healthy. And
Yes.
I mean, of course, they need our help in the healthy part, but yeah, let them figure out what they need to feel fulfilled. What is
Yes.
their passion? What is their, focus on that
All
instead of,
children, we should be
yeah,
allowing them.
absolutely.
We are the custodians. We do not own them. We
No,
should not
no,
be dictating where they go. We should be
no.
celebrating their journey in life and encouraging. Right? I
Yes.
tried to do that as much as I could with my own kids, and they all followed their own path. Some paths worked, some paths didn't. But
No.
they will, the whole thing is to encourage them that even if a path doesn't work, it's okay. You can pivot and try another path. There is
Yes.
no such thing as failure,
No.
right?
You
Because
only
something didn't
learn.
work, you're just learning. You're just like, okay,
Yes.
that didn't work, or that was okay for a while, but I need to try something different. That is the beautiful exploration of life.
Yes, absolutely. So we totally agree.
So we should take that under advisement. And when we're looking at our children,
Yeah.
I had a friend who used to say to her children, I brought you into the world and I can take you out. Wow, scary, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's like, yes, we're there to defend our children fiercely, but to put the fear in them. I think if we put fear in them on that level, then they're going to be fearful over everything. Do
Yeah.
not transfer your fear, your insecurities, your inadequacies onto your
No,
children. How
no.
about the incentive to explore yourself at the same time that your children are exploring?
Yes. Beautiful. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm thinking also about those, what you say about your own fears. I remember the dentist once saying, if you fear the dentist, don't bring your child along
Mm.
because then they will never go to the dentist themselves in the easy way. And
No, I
it's
agree with you. I agree with you. My daughter
maybe,
jumped up on something which she was told, do not jump up there, and she did. And then she fell off and she cut her ear. And we're at the doctor's, and I'm just holding my hand, looking straight into her face and talking very calmly. And he's stitching it up, and she's not taking her eyes off me. And all the way through, I'm just talking calmly to her. And he said, thank you. Do you know how many times I have to deal with the hysterical parent and the fearful child that makes it 100 times worse? Because
yes,
you were calm, the child was calm,
yes,
right?
they read you.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
it's
And I've
really important.
also some beautiful stories about what I learned with Wesley. He always wants autonomy. He wants to make his own decisions. So I remember one day we were eating for the first time like our winter dish. It's like mashed potatoes with kale mixed through
Mhm.
it. So it looks pretty dark green. So he comes to the table and he looks on his plate and he thinks, yuck, I don't want to eat that. And I had already done my orthomolecular back then, and I learned that we eat quite frequent. Our
Mm,
frequency is pretty high, and it would probably be healthier to reduce the frequency. And they said the best frequency, of course, that's bio individual, but would probably instead of 3 meals a day, 21 a week, maybe 18 meals a week or 15 meals a week. So that's less than three per day on average.
mhm,
So knowing that, and knowing that I give my son vegetables with every meal, not just the evening meal, I just gave him two options. I said, either you eat the meal or you don't eat the meal. It's up to you.
mhm,
And if you don't want to eat the meal, that's fine. Then you also don't have to sit at the table because then you have a big fight over that. I said, just go and play with your toys. So he walked away and he sat on the sofa, like 3 meters away from the dining table. And I started eating. My husband wasn't there that evening, and he's just watching me. He's checking whether I'm congruent, most
Mm-hmm.
probably, whether what I say is in line with what I radiate.
Yes.
So, but because I had all this knowledge, I could let go. I wasn't worried at all that he didn't eat enough. You
Mm-hmm.
couldn't do it. You would be, because then he would not do it. So after 5 minutes, and I was just eating, and I said to him, I said, "Oh, if I finish, I may eat your plate as well." After 5 minutes, you could see him think like, she really means it. So he walks to the table, he sits down, he takes a bite, and he said, that's nice. And he finishes his plate. Because sometimes I feel it's almost only about having the autonomy to make his own decision.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned from this lady with the potty training, they are the boss about their own body.
Mm-hmm.
They decide when they let go of their number ones and twos. They decide what they swallow. I mean, you can sort of force food in their mouths, but if they don't
Yeah.
swallow, they don't swallow. So if you just appreciate that,
Mm-hmm.
and you know that every meal that you give is healthy, because if you eat like grain, wheat in the morning, wheat for lunch,
Yes.
which is normal Dutch diet and most probably American as well. You eat either muesli or bread in the morning, bread for lunch, and then you have vegetables only at the dinner table. Then you are sort of stressed as a parent because you want them to eat the
Mm-hmm.
vegetable. We have, since we are on this new diet, we put vegetables in every meal. So I could let go.
Yeah.
And then you are not like you at the doctor with your
Yes.
daughter. If you are relaxed and you just offer them two choices, they will always choose the one that you
You're
eventually
right.
want.
Yes. So don't stress about it, right?
No,
Let them
but
have free
really,
will.
and I also experienced once, and that was when he was about 7. We practiced him getting dressed himself only in the weekends when there was no time pressure. In the
Mm-hmm.
weekdays, I would dress him, but I always thought, okay, if he's 18 and he's this big guy, I don't want to be dressing him anymore. So at one point in time, I thought, okay, in general, he can dress himself in 5 to 10 minutes. So it's time that he starts doing it in the weekday as well. But we are under time pressure. So I thought, how am I going to do this? And I then thought of about the following. He loves eating, right? Else it wouldn't work. So I told him beforehand, I said, on Monday, when you go to school, you're going to dress yourself, but you first have some time to drink something, go to the toilet, then you get half an hour to dress yourself. And I know he can do it in 5 to 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I said, if you are finished dressing yourself, we'll have breakfast and then we go to school. If you don't finish after half an hour, I will do it because I still want to be on time in
Mm-hmm.
school. But then there's no time left for breakfast
Breakfast. Mm-hmm.
anymore. So I said, then you go to school without breakfast. Again, me knowing that we don't need 21 meals
Right.
a week. And of course, I discussed with school if that would happen, I would give his breakfast and he would eat it in the 10 o'clock
Mm-hmm.
break. But still, he would have to wait a couple of hours.
Right.
Which is, yeah, pretty okay. I mean, there's a lot of focus on that breakfast is so important, but
Mm-hmm.
I also learned about exercising on an empty stomach so that you
Mm-hmm.
can do that if you have your breakfast after you cycle or walk.
Right. Right.
So the first morning, he was sort of lying flat on his stomach and, oh, mommy, I can't do it, and you need to help me. And I was sitting in the chair and I thought to myself, I am too eager in him wanting to succeed in dressing himself. And I thought I should stop that because I gave him two options,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I was happy with both of them, else I shouldn't give them. And my objective is a long term one. When he's 18, I don't want to dress him anymore.
Right.
So, really, what does it matter to me whether I dress him or he dresses himself? It doesn't matter. Either he has breakfast or he doesn't have, but tomorrow is another day and we'll see again. At the moment, I'm changing my mind on
Mm-hmm.
this and I think it doesn't matter. He stops crying, he gets up, he dresses himself in 2 minutes, he walks smiling into the kitchen, he sits at the table and he has breakfast. And it was never ever an issue anymore. He dressed
Right.
himself.
You
So
let go of the expectation.
Yes,
Yes.
because I gave two choices. I did a lot of thinking, of course, to give two good choices and
Yeah.
to sort of motivate him to do it himself. But I thought I have to let go today of whether he chooses choice. He wants to choose, and he feels I want him to choose A, so he goes for B. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yes.
As soon as I take my energy out of it and I say, okay, you can choose whatever you want, it's equal for me. Then he thinks, well, I better have my breakfast.
All right.
Then he starts choosing on based on his.
Yes. So
So
always
there
the
was,
power of his choice. So that goes back to what I said earlier about that negotiation, right?
yes,
These are the options.
yes,
Don't give
and you
too many
keep it
options, one
open.
or two,
Yeah,
right? And the consequences are that. And let them deduce it themselves, right? And
yes,
where there is a will, there is a way. I want breakfast. I'll put some clothes on, even if I put them on backwards,
yes,
right?
yes,
So, but what you're doing is he's giving him the power of his own voice, his own decision making,
yes,
which he's going to need later on in life anyway, right?
correct.
So he's going to need through his life. So the more that you give that power to him of making a choice, of understanding consequences, the better
Yes,
it is through his life of understanding, if I make this choice, what's the consequence?
but I also want to give the message to the parents and the teachers working with our kids. If our kids are not behaving the way they want, they need
Mhm.
to look at themselves
Yeah,
first.
the
In the
projection of
mirror,
your
look.
energy.
Exactly. And I mean, it's also when you don't feel well, when you have a toothache or,
Hmm.
or backache, they will not behave in a nice way. They are not like, oh, you don't feel well, because they cannot feel whether it's your pain or their pain. They feel your pain as if it's their own pain.
Yes.
I also try to explain that now to him if I don't feel well, like, oh, mommy has this pain. It's not yours. You don't
Yeah.
have to deal
You
with
don't have
it.
to take it on.
But I
Right.
mean, most people are not aware about how sensitive they are.
Yes.
So they say, "Oh, my child won't do this and it won't do that, and it's always behaves like this and it's doing that." And I'm thinking, what are you doing? Look at
Right.
yourself
Well,
first.
they actually say this, I've had many animal trainers on, and they're saying if your animal is playing up, look to yourself.
Well, this
They
is
are completely
exactly the
mimicking
same.
you because they're picking
Yes,
up and they don't know why you're anxious or why you're fearful or why you're that. And they kind of think, is it me? Is it me? And they're getting stressed out. And you're saying, well, they're chewing shoes. Well, why are they chewing shoes? How about
yes,
you calm down? And then they
yes,
wouldn't have that need for something. And I think that's a good piece of advice for anybody, parent or not, right?
yes,
Stop
yes.
imposing your anxiety out there on everyone else, right? Deal with it.
And people don't realize they do
Mm,
it.
no, they don't. And when we're aware, we care, right? So
Yes,
that's the important thing. This
yeah,
has been fantastic. I've learned so much from you today, and I hope everybody else has as well. You don't have a site or anything, but you do have an email where people
yeah,
can get hold of you if they wish to ask you any questions, which I'm sure today people do have. You've done all this years of research, and you've tried it, tested and true of what works for
yes.
you, and you know what works for you. So how do people get hold of you?
Yeah, they can email me. So will you give that as in the
Yes,
description?
Karin,
Karin Sauren at
which is
gmail.com.
right. Karin. So
Yeah,
Karin Saron at gmail.com. And
correct.
reach out and ask some questions. And I hope that you've taken notes today, folks. Certainly get out and start trying some of these things because never mind Down syndrome or autism or anything else, we all need this. It's all about that toxification in our body. It's all about our well-beingness. Let us look at healing ourselves so we can heal our family. And give it a try on yourself. If it works on you, then you know that you can do it with your child. But also, big lesson to learn here today. Just because a child with Down syndrome learns differently, reacts differently, goes at their own pace, doesn't mean they don't have a heart, soul, and spirit, and they're not here to be a gift to us. It's for us to look to what it is and how to communicate with them, not dictate how they should live in our world, right? Step into their world. There's a lot for you to learn from there. So thank you so much, Karin, for sharing today.
You're welcome, and thank you for inviting me. And you summarized it beautifully. And it was great to share my story. Thank you for the
Well, I'm
opportunity.
certainly going to be looking into a lot of these things myself, and especially the glyco and the other, because yes, so toxification. We don't
Yeah.
realize how much it affects our body, affects our mind, our psyche, our spirit, our very aura. And if we can detox, then we're actually allowing our spirit not only to have its fortification, but our body to support it as well. Let's give our body, mind, heart, and soul a chance. So thank you so much, Karin, for all your wonderful wisdom. A hug to Wesley.
I
And
will.
and to everyone else out there, remember there is always an answer. She spent a lifetime looking for it, so
I
there
just
is
want to show
always
you
an
this is what he's looking now.
I'm a handsome young man,
Yes.
definitely a
And
very
then he's
handsome young
busy.
man. Yeah, and of course he's got his vlogger on YouTube, and you go to her show page, you will see the vlogger link there. Obviously it's in Dutch, so obviously it's not in English there, but if you speak Dutch, then you will understand what he's saying. But just the fact that he's putting it out and having so much fun is absolutely wonderful. So
And he's checking how many followers he has.
likes and
So
yeah.
if you just like him and subscribe, you will make him very happy.
I've already done that. So absolutely.
Thank you.
So, folks, it's all about being aware, really caring, listen, learn, and apply. So apply, get yourself healthy, get people around you healthy. If you know somebody with a child with Down syndrome, don't cut them and go, "Oh, I'm sorry," right? Just go out and go, what a beautiful, blessed child,
Yes.
and be supportive. Parents are navigating their way and they're listening to the child to show them the path. You can do the same. So until next time, folks, I wish you all well. Bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tag at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration, it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.